Hello, my name is Lori, and I'm a compliance examiner with Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost's Charitable Law section. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to hopefully learn something that will strengthen your charity. You are about to view a pre-recorded webinar titled Ohio's Charitable Registration and Filing Requirements. We have provided an email address for you to connect with our compliance team. If you have specific questions about your organization's registration and filing requirements, please send your email to charitableregistration@ohioattorneygeneral.gov. Please be sure to include the name and EIN number of your organization. This email will be provided again at the end of the webinar. Before we get started, we want to make sure this is the best webinar for your needs. Please review the questions listed. Does your organization have an EIN? Have you filed with the Secretary of State's office? Do you know what type of an organization you have? Is it a for-profit, a nonprofit, or something else? Does your organization have tax-exempt status? You can register without having tax-exempt status, but you will need to know and understand if your organization has tax-exempt status or not. Just because an organization has an EIN does not mean that it's tax-exempt. These and many other questions are addressed in the webinar, Other Governmental Filings and Record Keeping. If you know the answers to the questions above, you are ready to proceed. You are viewing the webinar titled Ohio's Charitable Registration and Filing Requirements. This webinar will cover a great deal of information in a short amount of time. The primary focus of this webinar is to assist you with the registration and filing of the annual reports so that your organization can get and remain compliant. This presentation will address your questions about registration and filing annually with the Ohio Attorney General's Charitable Law section. We are going to talk about why an organization needs to register by giving a brief outline of the two laws requiring registration and filing. Then we will discuss who needs to register, and we will explain what is meant by an Ohio organization. We are going to show you where to register and also how someone can monitor your organization's filings through our Research Charity feature, both of which are done on our website. So we will briefly show you how to navigate our website. We are going to talk about the due dates for when your organization registration is to be completed and when your annual reports are due. That sounds like a lot, but then we're going to spend the majority of the remaining time reviewing the process of how to get and stay compliant in 3 easy steps. Why you need to register. Most states have some charitable registration requirements, and Ohio is no different. The biggest reason for registering with the Ohio Attorney General's Charitable Law section is that it's the law. There are 2 primary statutes that instruct who is to register and file annually with our office. The first is Ohio Revised Code 109, the Ohio Charitable Trust Act. If your organization is an Ohio charitable trust, you are required to register and file under this statute. The other statute, Ohio Revised Code 1716, the Ohio Charitable Organization Solicitation Act, addresses organizations that are soliciting for a charitable purpose in Ohio. So this could include out-of-state organizations if they are soliciting Ohioans. Ohio Revised Code 1716-01, Section K, addresses what is considered as solicitation. It is important to stay current with your filings. A lot of organizations will fall under both of these statutes, but if registration is current under 109, you may not be assessed fees under 1716. There are many additional reasons for registering. The primary job of the Ohio Attorney General's Charitable Law section is to protect Ohioans and charitable assets. So registration and annual filing are the basis for all we do. Registration provides transparency to the public, so fraud can either be prevented or identified and stopped. Registration helps to protect reputations. We work to prevent fraudulent charities from defrauding Ohioans, and in particular our seniors. We also provide a way for the public to make complaints through our website. We know that you work hard to pursue your organization's mission, and our job is to protect the stated mission and Ohioans by making sure that the charitable assets are used for their intended purpose. So, just to quickly recap what the law says, under Ohio Revised Code 109, the term charitable trust is broadly defined. If your Ohio organization is holding funds for a charitable purpose, then it's considered a charitable trust, regardless of whether it has tax-exempt status or not. If your organization is a 501c3, then it's considered a charitable trust. When we say an Ohio organization, we're talking about charitable trusts that are either located in Ohio, organized or formed in Ohio, have programming in Ohio, or those that have assets in Ohio. If you meet any of these conditions, then your organization is considered an Ohio organization. If you meet none of these, then you will want to contact our office for an out-of-state form. Organizations that are soliciting for a charitable purpose in Ohio are required to file under Ohio Revised Code 1716. This includes Ohio organizations, but could include out-of-state organizations if they are soliciting Ohioans. Section K of Ohio Revised Code 1716-01 addresses what is considered as solicitation, and you can find links to both of these statutes on our webpage. You complete registration and filing online through the Charitable Ohio website. The Ohio Attorney General's office has a special website just for all of us. This is a standalone website for Ohio's charities. You can get to the Charitable Ohio website from the Ohio Attorney General's website, but you don't need to. The web address is charitable.ohioago.gov. We have expanded information that's pertinent to charities, and it is organized to be user-friendly. If you have been filing for years, don't worry. The filing screens look exactly the same. The only difference is how you get and the organization of the information and the ease of access. Once you get to the website, you have several options. If you do not have an account, you can still check the status of an organization through our Research Charities page. Research Charities is one of the options on the gray Charitable Ohio bar across the top of the page. This search feature is available to everyone. An account is not required to check the status of an organization. To search for an organization, you will type in either the organization's name or EIN, and then by clicking on the details, you will be able to view the information provided by the organization. You will also quickly be able to see if the organization is compliant. This page will not show what is needed for compliance. To find that out, you will need to log in to your user account. We will show you how to create that just a little later. You will also print this page by scrolling to the bottom of the organizational information. This printout is often used as part of a grant application process to determine if the organization has met their registration requirements. Charities will also be able to direct potential donors to the Charitable Ohio webpage to confirm that the organization's compliance with registration requirements. And this page also gives other research suggestions. The user account is to be created so the user can be linked to a specific organization. An account must be created to either register or file annually, or to just monitor the organization's activity. You will also need to create a user account whenever an email address changes or the user changes. Registration is to be completed only one time. This is to be done within 6 months of the formation of an organization and must be done before any solicitation occurs. Annual reports and fees are to be submitted online each year. The due date is based on the year end of the organization. If you file a 990 with the IRS, the 990 and our annual report are both due at the same time. We encourage you to complete the 990 first, as it may contain the information needed to file the annual report with our office. And finally, you are to provide the required documents initially during registration, but also if you are requesting an exemption determination. You will be asked to provide documents to support your claim. An updated document should be submitted whenever any changes are made to your creating or governing documents. We are going to be breaking the how question into 3 easy steps. We will first show you how to create your user account. Then we will explain how to complete registration if you're required to complete registration. And finally, the third step will be how to file the annual report and pay any related fees. As you are navigating through this system, you may encounter a couple of symbols that I want to comment on. To the left of many of the questions, you will see a small red asterisk. This indicates that question is required and must be answered. There will be some questions that do not apply to your organization, and you are not required to answer them, so they are not marked by a red asterisk. Just skip over those. To the right of many of the questions, you may see a gold question mark. This is called a tooltip. For additional information or clarification on a question, you can click on that gold question mark and a window will open with additional information about that particular question. These are especially helpful when completing the annual report. For many of the annual report questions, the gold question mark will tell you what line of the 990 to find the answer. And at the bottom of many of the pages, you will see arrows pointing either back or next. By clicking either back or next at the bottom of the page, your information will be stored up to that point. So if you need to stop before it's finished, you will be able to log back in and pick up where you left off. You cannot print the information until it has been submitted. Until you submit the information, you are able to change it. Once the information has been submitted, an email of the information that was submitted is sent to all active user accounts, and you can simply print the email. The email will also say who submitted the information along with the date and time the information was submitted. Now to the main point of this training, to get and stay compliant. This doesn't have to be difficult. There are 3 very manageable steps. First, you're going to create your user account. Second, if it is required, you will complete the registration. And third, or lastly, you will file any required annual reports and pay any required fees. Simple enough? Step 1, setting up your user account. Getting to the correct web page is the first obstacle to overcome. Just to review, the website is charitable.ohioago.gov. You can continue typing in /charitable-registration and go directly to the charitable registration page, or you can select the charitable registration tab. You will select the register a charity, file reports, or create an account page, either from the picture or drop-down menu. This will take you to the login page. The login page has been broken into 2 sections. If you're a return user and you've already created your account, you will simply sign in using your email address and the password you've made up. If this is your first time on this website, you will sign in where it says first-time users. You will be asked for your email address. This should be your information. This isn't really something that you can do for someone else. The email needs to be one that you have access to and that you regularly check. We will be sending an email to verify the email address. You will be asked to enter a password that you make up, and you will be asked to verify it typing it in a second time. You will then type in your name, your first name, your last name, and a phone number where you can be reached, and your relationship to the organization. Once you have finished, you will select Create. Multiple people associated with an organization can have accounts. The CPA, the treasurer, the secretary, etc. Each person will have their own user account, and when a person is no longer associated with the organization, their account can be deactivated by simply sending email with the name of the organization, the EIN, and the email address that you're asking to be deactivated. When you are setting up your user account, you will be asked to enter the EIN of the organization you are wishing to be linked to. The system will look through our database looking to find that organization in our system. If it finds the organization, it will populate the organization's information and then ask if this is the organization you wish to be linked to. If it doesn't find the organization, the system will ask you to provide this information. This is basic demographic information about the organization. This is to put the organization in our system, sort of a placeholder, but this is not the registration. Once you've entered the information and reviewed it, you will then submit it. Providing that you've done everything correctly, you will be asked to confirm your email address. To do this, you will need to go to your email account and locate the email from Charitable registration. Again, it's important that you use an email address that you have access to when you create your user account. This confirmation email will be sent right away once you have hit submit. The email will look very much like the one shown. Once you have opened the email, you will be asked to click the link inside to confirm that this is your email account. Once you have clicked on the link, the page will open to let you log in. You will no longer be a first-time user, so you'll log in at the top of the page with your email address and the password that you made up. You should have received the email right away. If you didn't receive this email within 5 minutes, you will need to check a few things. You can try refreshing your email folder by selecting Send and Receive. You can check your spam filter. The email will come from Charitable Registration at ohioattorneygeneral.gov. You may need to contact your IT department to make sure that a firewall didn't block it. In some cases, you may have to add the Charitable Registration email to your approved or safe sender list. You may need to try entering the information again, as you may have typed a wrong email address, or you may have forgotten to click on the Submit button. Make sure you are using the same device to do all of these steps. Some people have had issues when they create the user account on one device, maybe their computer, and then they try to confirm the account on another device like their phone. If you have checked all the possible issues and you still have not received the email, you should contact our office. A feature of this system is that a user can be associated with more than one organization. This is especially helpful to CPAs, but may also benefit others that are active in the community and are perhaps treasurers for one group, president of another organization, etc. You can use one email address and the same password to access both or many organizations. This by signing in to the first organization, and then over under the menu, you select Add Organization. You will be asked the EIN of the second organization. Once you verify that this is the organization that you want to be connected to, you will submit the information. Once you have been connected to multiple organizations, you will see them listed when you sign in, and you can select the one that you wish to work with. There is also a change organization feature that will allow you to move from organization to organization. It is also located under Menu on the left-hand side of the page. It will allow you to move from one organization to another without having to log out and then log back in again. Assuming you received your confirmation email and were able to click on the link, when you sign in, you will see the to-do list. It will say, "Welcome," and your name. You are logged in for your organization's name. You have completed the first step. Only 2 more to go. It is important that you pay attention to what appears on this to-do list, as it will provide the details of the tasks that are outstanding. In the example, a user needs to complete registration and can do so by clicking on the registration link shown in blue. Moving on to step 2, registration. If you aren't found to be exempt from registering, this is different from being tax exempt, then you're going to need to register. We will talk about these specialized exemptions toward the end of the presentation. Organizations must register and file online from the to-do list. You will know if registration is required because it will be listed as one of the tasks to be completed. If you received a message that nothing is required at this time, you may want to contact our office to verify that this is correct. If you ever log out and you need to log back into the to-do list, we want to make sure you know how. So let's review. From your browser, type in the web address, charitable.ohioago.gov. Or better yet, save it as a favorite or a bookmark. From the Charitable Registration tab, you will either select the option from the drop-down menu or select the picture. This will take you to the login screen. Log in at the top of the page with your email and password because you should have already created your account, and now you will be a returning user. From the to-do list, you may see registration. You may see other items that are due. If you do not see registration, it is very likely that someone else has already completed registration for you. I am going to stress this again. It is important that you pay attention to what appears on this to-do list, as it will provide details of what is outstanding. To complete the registration, you will click on registration and proceed to answer the questions. Registration has been broken down into 4 steps. Step 1 is the demographic information. Step 2 is regarding the organization's structure. Step 3 is the purpose and asset information. Just a reminder, you are only required to answer those questions with a red asterisk, as some of the questions will not pertain to your organization. You will be asked for the organization's year end. Organizations must define a 12-month period that will be used as the basis for reporting financial information. You will likely already have done this. Groups can select a calendar year that begins January 1st and ends December 31st, which seems to be the most popular choice. However, organizations may find it more convenient to select other dates that define their fiscal year. July 1 to June 30th is the second most common fiscal year period. The response to this question should indicate the last month of the fiscal year. For instance, if a calendar fiscal year is used, December should be selected. If you have been granted tax exempt status, the year end will appear on the federal tax exemption determination letter. Dates are in the format month, date, year, 2 digits / 2 digits / 4 digits for the year. Step 4 of registration is where you'll be asked to provide the documents. We require documents from two categories. The first category is your creating or governing documents. This could be your articles of incorporation if you filed with the Secretary of State's office, or your bylaws, or a constitution, or a trust agreement. And the second type of document will verify your organization's tax-exempt status. If your organization has been granted tax-exempt status by the IRS, then you'll need to provide the federal tax exemption determination letter. And that's if you have been granted tax-exempt status, not the letter assigning you an EIN number. If your organization doesn't have tax-exempt status, and this could be because you have applied but you haven't gotten it yet, if you don't have tax-exempt status, then we're asked that you please complete the affirmation of IRS status. And this form can be found on our website. Again, if you don't have tax-exempt status currently, then you need to complete the IRS status form, which is available on our website. Getting tax-exempt status, such as a C3 or a C19, is done through the IRS. It will require an application to be filed and will involve a fee. If you want to find out more about that, you can go to the IRS website for details. That's irs.gov. If you are unable to upload the documents when you get to this point, you will want to scroll down past the list of possible documents and mark that you will be providing the documents later, either by mailing, faxing, or emailing them to us. The task to provide the registration documents will remain on your to-do list until they have been added to your organization's file. You will review and submit the information, and then you will go back to the to-do list to see if anything else is required. Remember, if you mark that you would be sending in the documents later, that you need to get the required documents to our office so the registration can be completed. Once you have reviewed the information, do not forget to hit submit at the bottom of the page. Once you have successfully entered submit, you will be ready to move on to the final step. If you were not able to upload the documents or you mailed them in, the flag asking for the documents will remain on the to-do list until they have been uploaded to your organization's file, either by you or by our staff. The registration will not be considered complete until both types of documents have been submitted. An organization will be considered out of compliance until the registration is totally complete. However, even if the provide registration documents task remains on your to-do list, you can still move on to step number 3. In step 3, filing the annual report and paying the fee, from the to-do list, you will be able to see if there are any annual reports that need to be filed. If File Annual Report is an item that appears on the to-do list, then you may want to click on it to see if there are more than the current year being asked to be filed. The File Annual Report activity will only show up once the registration questions have been submitted. It is possible that more than one annual report may be required. Once you have clicked on the File Annual Report, the first item will ask you to select the year. If more than one year appears, you will need to complete all of those years listed. These annual reports are based on the formation date of the organization, so it could ask not only for the current year, but it could ask for 2 previous years if the organization has been around for a while. The current annual report will appear as a task to be completed as soon as the year is over. So it is possible that for a new organization, there may be no annual report currently due. For example, if an organization was formed in March of this year and they have a December year end, there would be no annual report currently due, as their first year will not have been concluded yet. The annual report for a December year-end organization will appear on the to-do list on or around January 1st. You will want to file the annual reports in chronological order, starting with the oldest one first. The annual reports must be filed online. Please do not send paper forms, and we do not need a copy of the 990. You will simply answer the questions that are asked online. If you file a 990 series return with the IRS, please note that their due date and our due date for filing are the same. We encourage you to file your 990 with the IRS first, and then you can file your annual report with our office. If you have been granted an IRS extension, then we will honor that extension. If you do not file by the initial due date, we are going to assume that you've received an extension with the IRS. We will not consider your filing late as long as the report has been filed and any related fees have been paid before the extended deadline has passed. It is important that you are filing for the correct year. When looking at the IRS 990 return, we go by the year-end date on the second line. If you look at this example, it says that it's the 2017 form. But if you take a closer look at the second line, you will see the year-end date of January 31st, 2018. According to our system, this is the annual report for 2018 because the year ended in 2018. If the year end was June 30th, 2018, it would still be the annual report for 2018 because the year end is 2018. For a calendar year end, if the year ends in December of 2018, the annual report is still for 2018. I hope this helps. The oldest report should be filed first and paid for. Otherwise, you will be considered out of compliance when filing for your next year. Not only may you be subject to late fees, but you could also find out that one of the exemptions for Ohio Revised Code 1716 may no longer be recognized, in which case you may be subject to both statutes and both fees and a late fee. If you file one time annually and you pay the fees timely, there should be no issue with staying compliant. When you are answering the questions on the annual report, you may want to look at the tooltips for each question by clicking on the gold question mark off to the right end of each question. In some cases, it will tell you what line on your 990, 990 EZ, or 990 PF you can find the figure that is being requested. Every charitable organization that files is asked the same first 4 questions. It is very important that these questions are answered correctly. The answers provided to these questions will determine if any additional questions are required. For many organizations, these first 4 questions will be all that are required. If you want to see a list of all the possible questions, the list of annual report questions is available on our website. The first question, did your organization on its own behalf solicit Ohioans? This question can confuse people because it mentions bingo. If your organization has a bingo license, then you're soliciting. Bingo is a form of solicitation. Bingo, however, is not the only solicitation we're asking about. Did your organization solicit for charitable contributions? Did you have bake sales, flower sales, brick sales, fish fries, kind of fundraising? How do you get the money for your organization's operation? If you have any question about whether your organization is soliciting, please refer to Section K of Ohio Revised Code 1716.01, which outlines what is considered a solicitation. It is surprising how many times PTOs or booster organizations will incorrectly mark that they do not solicit. Raising money is usually the primary purpose of many of these organizations. Again, if you have any questions, please refer to Section K of Ohio Revised Code 1716.01. Moving on to the second question. Question number 2. Did your organization hire a professional solicitor? This is a yes or no question. Do you have a contract with someone who solicits for your organization? Question number 3. What was the organization's gross revenue? This is a dollar amount. What did your organization take in during the year? And then the last question, what was the organization's total assets remaining at the end of the year? So what did your organization have of value remaining? This would include bank account balances, property, buildings, vehicles, investment accounts, cash on hand, equipment, etc. We understand that mistakes can happen. If you make a mistake and your answer or figure needs corrected, email us what the mistake was along with the organization's name and EIN. Once we have received this email, our staff will work to make the needed correction. For many organizations, once the first 4 questions have been submitted, they will be done with their annual Attorney General's Office filing obligation, and no fee will be assessed. For those that are required to answer more questions, the system will ask about revenue, assets, liabilities, and expenses. One of the questions that we are often asked about is what are program service expenses? These are unique to each organization because they are based on the organization's stated purpose. Program expenses are broadly defined as an activity that fulfills an organization's exempt purpose as determined by the organization's mission statement. The organization's mission statement and/or purpose should be listed in their governing documents. For example, a food pantry would claim the cost of food purchased to provide to its clients, while an educational institution might report the cost of textbooks, computers, or teachers used to train students. Again, if you get started filing an annual report and have to stop, be sure to select Next or Back at the bottom of the page to save the information that you have already entered. For the most part, the thing that will take the longest when filing the annual report is when we ask for the board members to be added. Yes, you will need to enter them all. The good news is that this information will be saved from year to year. So if you have provided the information last year, you will only need to edit those that are changed by adding those that are new and removing those that are no longer appropriate to be included. Once you've answered all the questions, you will be given a chance to review the information. Before you submit the information, you are able to make changes, but once you hit submit, it has been submitted and you can no longer make changes or corrections without contacting our office. In the event that you have submitted it and then you realize there was an error that needs to be corrected, you will need to contact our office by emailing the change that is needed. Once you have submitted the annual report, you, as well as all of the other users that are linked to your organization, will be sent an email of what was submitted. It will say who submitted it, when it was submitted, and then it'll provide a copy of what was submitted. You will then need to check the to-do list to see if any fees are required. If there is a fee due, the system will automatically calculate the amount due based on the information that you provided. For organizations that file under the Charitable Trust Act, Ohio Revised Code 109, fees are based on the amount of total assets the organization has at the end of the fiscal year. For organizations that file under the Charitable Organization Solicitation Act, Ohio Revised Code 1716, fees are based on the total amount of contributions received from Ohioans throughout the year. In some cases, organizations will be assessed fees under both statutes, but you will be happy to hear that for most organizations, as long as they remain compliant under the Charitable Trust Act, they will not need to also pay fees under the Charitable Organization Solicitation Act. It is important to stay compliant, file and pay fees on time. late fees are $200 for each occurrence. If a late fee is assessed, it will only be charged under one of the statutes, but it is possible that if your organization were to fall out of compliance, it could be assessed fees under both statutes and a late fee. The maximum fees could be as much as $600 for 1 year. The fees are automatically assessed by the system. You will be shown how much is due and asked to choose your payment method. You will pay online with either a credit card, MasterCard, or Visa, or by e-check, where you will enter the bank routing number and the fee will be electronically transferred. Mailing a check-in is no longer an option. Not all organizations are required to register and file with the Attorney General's Charitable Law section, as there are some specialized exemptions that some organizations will qualify for. These exemptions are not automatic and must be requested. There are certain exemptions written into the statutes. The most common exemptions are for religious entities and educational institutions. To determine if the organization would qualify for an exemption, you need to create an account, which you already know how to do from step 1. Once you have logged in to the to-do list, you will select the Request Exemption option on the left-hand side of the page under Menu. You can review the criteria to see if any of these exemptions apply to your organization. If so, you may want to request an exemption. Please select all that apply to your organization, and then you will be asked to provide documentation to support your claim. Upload the requested supporting documents. The system asks for them to be provided within 30 days of the request. Provide an email or cover letter explaining why and how your organization meets the criteria to be exempted. Describe the group's activities and relationships that relate to the exemption criteria. If documents were not uploaded to the system, they can be attached to this cover letter or email. Your request will be reviewed by an attorney in our office, and a decision will be emailed. Please note that certain entities can be exempt under one statute, but still required to file under the other statute. So it's important that you read your decision carefully. We have provided some additional resources on this slide. These are also available on our website. The back issues of the newsletters we produce are available, as well as links to the brochures that our office produces. You can either print them out or contact our office for hard copies to be mailed to your organization. You will also see that the links to the webinars have been provided. Thank you again for your participation and your time. We hope you found this presentation informative. If you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact our office. Have a great day.